Welcome! Every month NOAA issues a global climate report, and this video is a summary of that report. Well, first let's take a look at the temperature rankings for November in various areas. Globally, November was the second warmest November on record, with an excess temperature of 0.92 degrees centigrade above the 20th century average. Land was somewhat cooler at 8th position, ocean 2nd position. The Northern Hemisphere was the warmest November on record. The Southern Hemisphere was the second warmest on record. And that makes it approximately 418 consecutive months with temperatures above the 20th century average. Here is a map of the temperature deviation from the 20th century average. You can see there are two areas of intense cold, one in the eastern part of the United States and the other one in the Middle East and southern Siberia. There are three areas of extreme warmth, that is Alaska, Central Europe and far eastern Siberia. Off the South American coast we have a mixture of both warm and cold waters, which indicates we're still in a ENSO neutral condition, i.e. there's no El Nino or La Nina operative at the moment. The previous map gave you no idea whether those temperature deviations were records or not. That's what's the usefulness of the percentiles map, which I'm showing here. Dark blue indicates record cold, dark red indicates record warmth. And as you can easily see, there are no pixels on here that indicate record cold. There are only 5 pixels that indicate that the temperatures in that area were much cooler than average. However, there's hundreds of pixels that were much warmer than average, and 161 pixels that indicated that that area was the warmest on record. Another way of looking at global warming is how many record warm or how many record cold days there are. In November there were 2,289 record highs compared with 4,932 record lows. That's a ratio of 1 to 2.2 in favour of low temperatures. Now that's quite unusual recently. However, still year to date the imbalance goes the other way. We have 93,480 record highs and 54,060 record lows, a ratio of 1.7 to 1 favouring the higher temperature areas. I've just filled in the ranking for November of 2019, i.e. second place. And now this makes it look as though 2019 will be at least the second warmest year on record. Next, let's see what the satellite data has to tell us. We go to two different sources here. One is the University of Alabama, Huntsville, and the other is Remote Sensing Systems. First we'll look at the lower troposphere, which has an average altitude of about 4 kilometers. Both groups agree it was the warmest November on record, with a temperature deviation of 0.55 degrees centigrade above the average. This leads to a warming trend of 0.16 degrees centigrade per decade. In the mid-troposphere, that's a little higher at 7 kilometers, UAH thinks it's the warmest with a deviation of 0.44 degrees centigrade, whereas RSS thinks it's the second warmest with a deviation of 0.48 degrees centigrade. Combined, that gives us a warming trend of 0.1 degrees centigrade per decade. Last but not least is the stratosphere. This is an interesting layer because it's cooling. Typical altitude here is about 17 kilometers. UAH claims it's the 7th coolest November on record, with a cooling of 0.43 degrees centigrade, whereas RSS claims it's the 12th coolest with a deviation of 0.26 degrees centigrade. These combine to make an overall trend of minus 0.29 degrees centigrade per decade. There seems to be a problem with the sea ice data. According to NOAA, November was the second lowest sea ice extent in the Arctic ever recorded. However, the graph that they show with that doesn't show that at all. Similarly for the southern hemisphere ice, again they claim it's the second lowest, yet it looks like at least the third lowest from here. Well, how is carbon dioxide doing in the atmosphere? Well, it's starting to rise after its nadir in October. At the moment it's at a level of 411 parts per million, and that is an increase of 2.1 parts per million from last year. One of the most important natural variables that affect our weather and climate is the so-called ENSO cycle, or the cycle between El Ninos and La Ninas. This is a model prediction of what's going to happen over the next few months. And you can see that currently we're in ENSO neutral conditions, but it is quite possible that this will remain in place at least through the spring of next year. However, you'll notice the outliers on these graphs. One shows significant warming, the other one shows significant cooling. So which is correct? We don't know. Well, finally, let's finish with a summary map. These are NOAA's choices for significant climate events. You'll notice that there are 9 symbols on here indicating high temperatures and only 2 indicating low temperatures. And it shows the sea ice extent in both hemispheres as well. We did have one cyclone come ashore near Bangladesh. It was Cyclone Bulbul with maximum winds of 155 kilometers per hour. So that's all we've got for this week. So until next time, goodbye.